Hello and welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, and I am back after a brief stint away, but I'm happy, of course, then to be back in the company of my two favourite tipsters, and Daryl Carter and Andrew Mount, of course. Big thank you to Rob, though, for all of his hard work filling in for me whilst I was away. He didn't have to do such a good job, though, because now I feel the pressure that I'm back. But really happy to be back anyway, because we have plenty of top class action to look forward to from York and Sandown. Of course, it's the final day of the Ebor Festival where we have the big race itself. So without further ado, we had better crack on because we have plenty to cover. So we start with the 150 at York. This is the Group 3 Strensel Stakes. 4 3-year-olds and over a mile, 1 and 8 runners here. Andrew, would you like to kick us off, please?
Sure thing. Welcome back, Kate. Hope the Racing League stuff went well. Yeah, I'm going to go for a Haggis horse here, Bashkirova, a filly who was a little bit disappointing last time out when only 5th at Royal Ascot. But that race may have come a little bit too soon, just 11 days after her Epsom win. And she was held up and raced wide when it, paid to be closer to the front end. And of course, the other 5-2 joint favourite in that race was the brilliant Saffron Beach, who's since won the Prix Rothschild at Deauville. The runner-up, Thunder Beauty, was a 40-1 shot at Ascot, but she bolted up by 5 lengths in a Pontefract listed race next time out. So the form looks solid. And if you look at Bashkirova's form when she's been off the track for 5 weeks or longer, 3 wins and a half-length second. She's had a 66-day break to freshen her up. And given the trainer's record at the track, I thought, she was 14-1 anti-poster. I didn't take a chance because not many fillies tend to line up in this race, so I left her alone. And then she was 9-1 when the decks came out, straight into 8-1. So I think Bashkirova could give us a good run for our money at a value price.
Yeah, as you say, she has been backed in, hasn't she, from opening up at 14s and being back the whole while into 8s here. Still a fair price for Bashkirova for Andrew, though, Daryl. Do you agree or looking elsewhere?
No, I don't agree. I think she might just struggle outside of Phillies company, but I can see the case for this good case he's made for her, and she's a decent price in here. I like Alflaila. I've liked this horse for a long time. Won a listed race at Pontefract last time, bit Marie's Diamond, but the time before was behind Mighty Ulysses, the favourite. I just didn't think the Newmarket race worked out too well for him when he was stuck on the rail. He sort of was slowly away. He had to manoeuvre around horses. It was very straightforward for Mighty Ulysses that day. And I just think that Alflaila is the stronger stayer with this extra furlong definitely in his favour. They did say about Mighty Ulysses, they said that they wouldn't go up to 10 furlongs because it's just not in the locker. He's just not such a strong stayer. So I can see him being outstayed here. And of course, Alflaila returns to York, where he ran a blinder at a nursery handicap last year. From stall 16, having to come well wide of the field and make up loads of ground. I don't think we've seen the best of this horse just yet. Now, I know you could probably say, well, that listed race at Pontefract was a little bit weak and picked up a little bit of a weak race there. But I just genuinely believe that this horse is progressing with every single start. And the more that his stamina is drawn out, I think we're going to see the best of him. So, yeah, I'm going to have him to reverse the form. I think he's a fair price at 7-2 to reverse the form of Mighty Ulysses.
Yeah, you're saying Mighty Ulysses, 9-4 favourite then. Alflaila is a very fair price to reverse that form from his penultimate start. And as you say, they went one better last time out. So like the angle for him as well. We move on to our next race. This comes from Sandown. It's the 205, the Group 3 at Atlanta Stakes, 4 3-year-old fillies and mares over a mile. And our favourite is the once race, Laurel. So, Daryl, is this a good favourite or one you want to be taking on?
Andrew's, I've got the feeling Andrew's about to have a right go at this favourite and let him say that.
Me? Surely not.
Of course not.
Do
we know him at all?
That it was a really slowly run race at Newmarket and the horses raced once. You don't know what it's going to do second time. But I thought she looked really special. I was blown away, really, the way she quickened up for a debutant to have to squeeze through horses and barge her way through. She did have the benefit of the rail, but the way she quickened away, and it was the final 50 yards of the race that I thought, Christ, this could be really good. When she switched her legs to go away again, and I just thought, my God, I think she could be very, very smart indeed. And she's with the right man in John Gosden. Robert Havlin, I would have thought, would have had the choice between Grand Dame and Laurel, and he's chosen to go for Laurel. that's the way I see it. James Doyle's come here to pick up the ride on Grand Dame, who does set a very, very fair standard. I mean, there's lots to like. Bounce the Blues. There's loads of horses down in the field that are very good horses. But I just think that this Laurel could be very, very good, and it's very interesting. They're throwing her straight into a Group 3 on the back of that novice at Newmarket. I'm quite excited to watch her.
Cool. I like it, though. I wondered which way that was going to go with you, Daryl. So I'm pleased that you've gone with the positive approach to Laurel then. So 5-2, she is currently priced out up at potentially could be very smart. Andrew, as you sit there on your lovely balcony terrace in Portugal or wherever you are right now, are you going to take on Laurel?
Yeah, sometimes I take on Daryl's selections just to wind him up, and I actually quite like
it
them.
Works.
No, I've no massively strong opinion for or against Laurel. It wouldn't surprise me if she followed up. I do love a good Kingman, so I wouldn't put you off if you wanted to follow Daryl in. I will be backing Bounce the Blues, though. This is the horse I liked at Glorious Goodwood, where she was only 7th of 15. I mean, the draw went against her that day. She came out of stall 15. She's done really well to finish in mid-division behind Oscula that day. And if stall one's no disadvantage, I hope it's not going to be one of those Sandown meetings where everything's coming late and wide and you can't win round the inside. She was an eye catcher at Chelmsford the time before when coming from off the pace to finish second. An eye catcher at Goodwood when poorly drawn, doing well to finish as close as she did. So I'm hopeful that Bounce the Blues can bounce back.
Oh, bounce back then. Yes, and as you say, that 7th then last time out. No disgrace behind Oscula whatsoever, because Oscula continues to run every other day and tends to win as well. So like that angle a lot then for Bounce the Blues at 16-1 for Andrew as well. Super likeable. Right, we move on to one of the most competitive handicaps of the entire season. It's the Melrose Heritage Handicap for 3-year-olds over a mile 6 at York at 225. Very open race as we would expect. And because of that, I'm cheating and I'm chancing 2 in this, both at big prices though, at least. Firstly, Savvy Knight, 20-1, who admittedly does himself have to bounce back then after being overturned as the 8-11 favourite last time out. But it was a race that conspired against him, and it's not as though he was that disgraced anyway. And he still needs to prove himself over this trip, clearly. But I still think he remains open to plenty of further progression. And the other selection is a bigger price again in Mr. Allen. He's a 33-1 outsider of the field. Oh, I'm getting the thumbs up from Mr. Matt, so I'm already buzzing. Unless he's completely teasing me in there. Hopefully he agrees with me anyway. I think he ran a solid race in the King George V Stakes last time out, where he became outpaced over the mile 4, held up in rear, wasn't the place to be either. And I think this step up in trip will only aid him. So there's 2 for me, Andrew. Please tell me you actually do agree with one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 3 I was looking at. Caius Chorister, who's 5 from 6 on turf, with the only defeat coming on her racecourse debut when Berry Green and 28-1. She keeps pulling out more. I thought she'd be suited by the step up in trip, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her go in again. I sort of tipped her in a piece I was writing about an hour ago when she was 10-1. She's into 8-1 now. And there's a funny angle with this race. In the last 10 years, you just bet any horse who was 6th or worse last time out. You'd have found 3 winners and made a profit of £36. And all those winners ran at Ascot, Goodwood or Newmarket and were basically had excuses, in competitive contests. There's 2 of them. So there's Adjuvant, who was hampered when finishing 8th at Goodwood last time out. And there was Mr. Allen, of course, the one you made a great case for, who is a big price. And he was cheap pieced for the first time when finishing 8th of 19 behind Secret State at Royal Ascot. Stuck out wide, but everything, you look at that race, you had to be on the inside, didn't you? And nothing got into it out wide. And he's been gelded since. That could bring about improvement. And he's been off the track for a couple of months, freshened up. He showed he can go well after a break before, and I just thought 33-1 was a little bit insulting, really.
Oh, I'm so pleased about that. Yeah, so we'll give
I'll go for Caius Chorister. If I was having 2 points in the race, I'd have 1 point Caius Chorister, half each on Adjuvant and Mr. Allen.
Right, we're ignoring the other 2. We're ignoring Caius Chorister and Adjuvant, and we're all in on Mr. Allen. So I'm not paying a word of attention to what you just said at all there. Daryl, where was your thumbs up about Mr. Allen, please?
Oh, no, not for me. Not for me. I fancy the Fab. really fancy the Fab. Soulcombe, I think. Oh my God, I've been watching this horse since he was given a chop. And they stuck the blinkers on him at Haydock, and he absolutely dotted up. And I thought, God, he just looks like a right pain in the arse. He's got the tongue tied of blinkers on. He's had to be gelded already, and he just looks like he's just a real work in progress, this horse. And then he went to Ascot, and he pretty much bolted up there as well. And I've been waiting to back him, but I've been waiting for him to go up in trip because he takes a while to warm up. And he went to Goodwood, and I was like, I'm in an hour in thinking, should I back him or not? And I wasn't convinced that the track was going to suit him at Goodwood because it's just one of those horses that just needs space. He needs time to warm up. He needs a long home straight. And I was just saying to myself, just wait until he goes up in trip. I didn't have this race in mind at all, but I'm so glad they put him in here because this is perfect for him. Mile 6, long home straight at York. He's going to get plenty of time under Hollydall. Hollydall's on, I assume, because Tom Marquand can't do the weight. And I just think there's so much more to come from him. You see the way he finished at Goodwood. I mean, he was under the pump for a good while with Kieran Fallon, and then he really just let rip, and he just stinged down the outside, hit that line so hard. I can't wait for him to. I'm disappointed he's at the top of the market, in all honesty, because I've been very patient with him. But I think he's going to take a world of beating. The other one I just look at as an each way proposition was a horse tipped last time called Sheer Rocks for Eve Johnson Alton. I'm not going to do another show where we dig Frankie out, but he did make some bad decisions at Ascot on this horse. On the home turn, he should have gone on the inside. He decided to go outside, then he found trouble, then he went inside. And Sheerox picked up again in the last 50 yards, but it was too late, beating half a length. So I was a bit disappointed because he was about 14 to 1 shot when I fancied him. Stepping up in trip, I'm not entirely sure it's going to suit, but he's definitely well handicapped. He's got more to come. He's improving. So it'd be the each way play, Sheerox, and but I'd be pretty keen on that Soulcombe would win this.
Cool. So potentially then a 1-2 for the husband and wife combination of Tom Marquand taking over from Frankie then, who this podcast now sponsored by Frankie Dettori's agent, and then
he's our special guest next week as a surprise for Daryl.
I won't be.
Imagine that if we got all the guests on that anyone has ever said anything potentially negatively about.
It'd be a long show, wouldn't it?
We would be here a while. But Soulcombe, though, the main bet then for Daryl at the head of the market at 9.22. We move on to the Group 3 Solario Stakes at Sandown at 2.40 for the 2-year-olds over 7 furlongs. Enough runners in here then, Daryl. Who would you come down on the side of?
Yeah, good race this. No real strong opinion, in all honesty. I did like the way Desert Hero finished off his race for Haggis on debut. I think he could be potentially pretty smart, but I would just worry about if the ground quickens up for him. That was on soft ground. He does look like a horse that's a real grinder. He's in the Derby next year at 33 to 1, and so he's obviously going to improve for step up and trip. I just wonder if he'll have the sort of speed to cope with a couple of these, Wahaj, for example, or the Foxes. I would just tentatively side with Desert Hero, but I probably won't be getting involved.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough then. But if you, like you say, gun to your head, Desert Hero, but probably not a betting race then for you. Andrew, any further opinions on this race?
I'm sorry, which race are we talking about here?
The Solario Stakes, the 2.40 at Sandown.
Oh, sorry, I was getting confused, as is often the case with me. Yeah,
it's your age, it's fine.
Your age.
I had to say it before Daryl did. I'm sorry, Andrew. Before Daryl got in there, I had to say it.
Yeah. No, is it time for my nap and my tablets? No, pass. I've not looked at this one. Run out of time.
That is no problem whatsoever. To be fair, there's plenty of unknowns then in that race. We will speedily move on then to the Group 2 City of York Stakes at York at 3 o'clock. This race is for 3-year-olds and over 7 furlongs. Again, I do love these 7 furlong races, Andrew, and we pretty much have all of the right 7 furlong specialists in this race, to be honest, that we'd have hoped for. So who is the ultimate 7 furlong specialist?
Yes, I mean, Sandrine appreciated the drop to this trip when winning the Atlantic Stakes at Glorious Goodwood. First time I haven't backed her for God knows how long, so that was a bit of a gutter. I had a very big bet on Kinross, who came late, had to wait for room up the inside rail and just got done a neck. Now, probably, yeah, another criticism of Frankie Dettori.
I knew this was coming.
I'm going to stop that. I mean, the pace held up in that race. Sondrin was always prominent, as was the third Pogo. So I thought you could upgrade the performance of Kinross. It's just a shame the rain hasn't arrived this week for Kinross, but he's very, very good over 7 furlongs below Group 1 company when he's racing in Europe, and usually runs his race. He was unlucky behind Pogo in the John O'Gaunt at Haydock in May, when you had to be prominent around the inside, and he came late and wide that day. So I thought Kinross, was pretty solid. It's interesting to see Jumbie out again. I've been banging on all season about he needs 7 furlongs. He clocked his career best RPR at the time when winning over 7 furlongs at Newmarket on his final start last term. They kept running him over 6 this time around. Maybe he was a shade flattered in the Hungerford Stakes as the pace collapsed. They went way too quick, but they took the cheap pieces off after that disappointing effort in the International Stakes at Ascot. That seemed to help. So I thought Jumbie could go well again. But it's Kinross for me. The one I'm going to throw a few quid at a massive price is Dr. Zemph for J.R. Lyons in first-time tongue tie. Now, I think he'll benefit from switching from the Curragh. He did win there on his racecourse debut, but that was obviously a much easier race than he's used to now. He's only had 2 goes in his life on left-handed tracks, winning at Leopardstown on each occasion, admittedly in sort of Group 3 company and listed company. But I thought he was, that left-handed track angle was interesting. The first-time tongue tie. If there's one who could throw a spanner into the works for those ahead of the market, it could be Dr. Zemph here.
Oh, like it. Yeah, 33-1, outsider of the field then, Dr. Zemph to potentially throw a spanner in the works, but otherwise they're more looking towards Kinross and Jumbie then as well at a fairer price. I mean, 9-1 for Jumbie looks pretty fair, really. But yeah, Kinross then to hopefully reverse that form with Sondrin for Andrew. Daryl, yourself, please.
Yeah, this race is annoying me. Really, I was just disappointed. I didn't back Jumbie going back to Newbury last time as Andrew was. We both banged on about he wants 7 furlongs and disappointed. I thought a few of the principals though underperformed that day, like Chindy, etc. I thought that wasn't their true running. He is actually 2 for 2 when turned out within 10 days and 1 for 100% when turned out within 7 days. So I wouldn't worry too much about the quick turnaround for him. He'll probably handle it fine. Yeah, Kinross I thought was probably the bet. I just worry about him in terms of his stamina at this trip on a long home straight. He's got a short, sharp stride, and he really does enjoy Goodwood, where you can come in, you can sit, and you can pounce, and it's a very fast finish. I thought it was all wrong for Sacred, really. I tipped Sacred. I must say, 2-point win. I apologise, but it was all wrong for Sacred at Goodwood. Completely outpaced, raced wide early on, held up, looked for a run, couldn't get going quick enough. I just think she's a very strong stayer at 7. As you can see, when she ran, she was beating a length behind Naval Crown in the Platinum Jubilee over 6. She was outpaced for much of the race, and she was steaming home past Kinross. And I just think the certain tracks will suit Kinross better than they will suit Sacred. They're different types of 7 furlong horses, if that makes sense. So I think this is going to suit Sacred much better. So as much as I love Kinross, I am going to stick with Sacred and say that she might just outlast him.
So hopefully this 7 furlongs will see her to a better effect. No, I totally get what you mean about different types of 7 furlongs, because it's such a specialist trip anyway, where you have to have that perfect blend of speed and stamina, the tactics, the timing of it, and then, like I say, when you translate that from one track to another, it has a huge bearing on how you should be assessing the race as well. So
I think a Goodwood as a sharp 7. I know you're uphill for the first half, but it's all sort of downhill around the bend. And I always think of it as a sharp 7 as opposed to a real stiff 7.
Yeah.
This is not a stiff 7 furlongs, but this is a more fair track, and she's going to get a longer home straight to pick up in, and she's just going to have more time to do her own thing. Whereas it was all a bit rushed at Goodwood. And if you do look at her profile, like if you forgive that Goodwood run, for example, her other run was an excellent win in the Hungerford Stakes last year, beating Lanarkash, and then her other run over 7 furlongs, she beat Saffron Beach in the Neil Gwynn. you know, that's her only 2 runs over 7. She was beaten 4 lengths in the 1,000 guineas over a mile, which she just didn't see out. So she's definitely a 7 furlong specialist, and I just think she's less exposed than some of these, and she's probably just worth another chance.
Oh, okay. Giving Sacred then another chance to Daryl. You've made a very compelling case, so I will give you that for sure. Right, we're sticking with the York action then for our remaining 2 races, and it's the big one up next. This is the Ebor, a heritage handicap, of course, for 4-year-olds and over a mile 6 at York at 3:35. Now I'm jumping in here first again, lads. I apologise because I have a strong fancy, believe it or not, in this race with Calling the Wind at 25-1 as he drops back into a handicap here after running well to finish 3rd in a listed race last time out. We know that stamina is no issue for him whatsoever, and I think that he'll have the perfect setup in this race that he needs with his hold-up style. He's just a very consistent horse, and yet he's still able to run off of a very fair mark of 103 as he drops back into a handicap. We know from a second in the November handicap last season off this same mark, he should be bang there. And for all he would have preferred the ground to have been on the slightly easier side, I would have said. But he has proven himself on good to firm now too. And I think he's more ground versatile than we first thought. So it's Calling the Wind for me, Daryl. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think he's got a great chance. I genuinely do think he's got a great chance. I think he is one of those horses that lurks around. He's just waiting to land a big pot, and it could be this one. I also there's a handful I like. John Leaper was the other one. I know Andrew's going to laugh at that.
No, I get it. I really get it.
No, you'd be surprised. I'm going to come.
Really?
If there's one strong bet in the race, it's John Leaper to finish 2nd.
Well, he's an each way price anyway at like 16s or 14s or whatever he is. There is something about this horse, and he's probably going to take a few people off cliffs who've been backing him since the Derby. I'm not one of them, but he likes it here at York. The way he finished in the Silver Cup behind without a fight. It's only a 3-runner contest, but he's been crying out for a really strongly run race, and he just hasn't been getting it. He's been dotting around in very small fields, and he just has not been getting the strong pace he wants. And I think today could be his day. He's going to get a good clip. He's going to be finishing very strongly. He stays well. I would ignore the runs at Sandown. I don't think he likes Sandown. Goodwood was not going to be his track either. Over a shorter trip. This is his trip. This is his track, and I think he's going to get a very, very strong pace to finally run at. So it'll be very interesting to see how he gets on. He'd be my main fancy in the race. The other one was going to be Benud for Joseph O'Brien. This horse won last time out by 6 lengths, easily, very, very easily. But anything else he's done this season, his other 2 runs this season, he's just been under hands and heels. He's just not been ridden out at all. Even when he was behind Earl of Tyrone, he was just hands and heels at the cover, held up right out of the rear of the field, just like going for a trot around. Now I don't know if this has been a plan for a while, and they've got him to a point where they knew he was going to get in the race, and they don't want to go up anymore in the handicap. They want to have a crack at this, but there is more to come from him. I think he's better than 102. Jim Crowley's a very interesting bookie. Very interesting bookie.
Don't want to get that one.
It wouldn't surprise me to see this backed on the day. I think you can get about 25-1 on him at the minute. Benud, I think there's more to come from him. Definitely.
Yeah. So like you say, very fair price there, 25-1. Benud, Bernal. However, I still don't know.
Is it Benno, like Richie Benno, the cricket commentator?
Oh, you're asking the wrong guy.
I'm not sure.
But
maybe.
This is where you come into your own, Andrew. You pull out these nuggets of information to educate Daryl and I. So we appreciate.
I'm full of useless information, to be honest.
Yeah, great for a pub quiz. But the main bet, though, John Leaper, which I totally get. I was praying that one of you was going to say about John Leaper for this, because it would have just been dull if we hadn't. And I totally get it. 16-1 then for John Leaper as the main play for Daryl. Andrew, what do you fancy?
Yeah, I've been dismissive of John Leper in the past, saying he should avoid Leper play, but he does have a habit of finishing 2nd. He has done in both starts at York, despite the fact he's on a 10-round losing race. He, like Daryl says, big field, strong pace is going to suit, and I thought he'd be in the frame. I thought if you're attacking the tote, the idea is to sort of exactors the field to win. And John Leper to finish second. John Leper, sorry. And again, in exactors, have John Leper to finish second, and anything else to win or finish third. Now, Enemy is one I liked as well for Ian Williams, who gets a big field and a likely strong pace for the first time since winning the Queen's Cup at Musselburgh back in April. I thought he'd go well. Alfred Boucher, who I tipped here on Wednesday. Interesting to see if he rocks up in this as well. He is entered. He's another one I bet. Calling the Wind, I've bet him each way at 33. But I'm Enemy, John Leper, and Alfred Boucher, the three for me, I think. The Haggis horses you respect as well. Garcia, the Irish. I mean, Sky Bet are going 8 places, most firm are 7. Obviously, they're pricing things defensively, but you might be worth waiting until the 10 minutes before the off and just back these horses that you fancy each way at SP with Sky Bet for the 8 places, because horses that are 16 to 1 elsewhere are going to be 11 to 1, 10 to 1 even with Sky Bet, because they're priced defensively because of those extra places. But you will get a few quid on at SP nearer the off, and that could be the angle.
Solid piece of advice there from Andrew Mount as well. Solid. And very well done, though, for tipping up Alfred. I keep saying Boucher, but his name keeps being changed.
Yeah, I've always said Boucher, and then the commentators say Boucher. So
yeah, and you're saying Boucher the other day, but
yeah.
right. Yeah, I don't know. To be fair, we make up our own pronunciations on this show anyway for how a horse should be named. But John Leper is the new one for him, though. Anyway, and the pair of you agreeing with him. This is what in the twilight zone is going on here, that you're both signing with John Leper at some point. But yes, but a few selections there for Andrew nonetheless. But I'm happy that Calling the Wind was one of those each way plays. Anyway, our final race we're going to be discussing is the 4:10 at York, which is the Constantine Handicap, a heritage handicap for 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs, a wide open sprint. So Andrew, solve it, please.
Yeah, this is interesting. Obviously, on day 1 at York on Wednesday, it was a big advantage to be drawn low. By the time this race comes around, we'll have had a lot more evidence. There's always the chance that the bias switches if there's rain on the ground that's been churned up on the far side, and it's not an advantage to be drawn low here. But if it is low numbers, then what I was interested in was obviously Summerhand. Despite the fact he hasn't got the greatest York record, he was well back for the Great St Wilfrid at Ripon last week. Was one of those few who went towards the far side, which turned out to be disadvantageous. He did well to finish 4th and do best of that group. So he's 10 to 1 from 12 to 1 today. Silver Samurai, our old friend, a horse Daryl and I both likes to come from off the pace. The trouble is those tactics are generally not helpful at York. Now, before that opener on Wednesday, I looked at what had happened at York in the last 10 years of that 6 furlong handicap, horses who were held up. There was something like 1 from 106. Everyone was all over that Atalis Bay saying, there's so much pace in this race. You've got to be on a hold-up horse. What happened? Bergerac makes all. Yeah. And again, we see it time and time again. You look at the pace map. My God, there's 10 front runners out of 18 here. Bound to be set up for a closer. Very rarely happens. So that's the trouble with Silver Samurai. Now, he was only beaten 2 and a bit lengths last time, finishing 7th of 18. But again, he's a hostage to fortune on a track that does not favour his running style. Wouldn't be surprised to see him, finishing sort of 5th or 6th. Or even a little bit closer if you can get on with those extra each way terms. Mr. Wagyu, I should mention, we're outside of the peak June-July period. He was very disappointing in the Stewards Cup, where there was massive opposition to him on the betting exchanges. And racecourse bookmaker friend of mine said he was very popular with the public. You couldn't put them off. He said that he would have had a bus queue if Mr. Wagyu won, but every time he laid it on course, it seemed to be getting bigger on the exchanges. Went out to 20 to 1 at one stage, came back to a Betfair SP of about 15.5, I think. But and he didn't get the clear. It was an odd ride. It's interesting, Ryan Sexton on board today, taking £5 off. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him, in the frame. And Lethal Levi, he was very popular. For the Stewards Cup consolation race, blew the start, never got in contention, finished 9th. I thought he'd win quite easily that day. And Clifford Lee back on board, a track that he's run well at in the past, finishing 4th in that Harry's Angel race a few runs back. He could go well. And it's interesting to see Mum's Tip or serial loser until Frankie Dettori got on at Newmarket last time, and he won quite comfortably. If that stall 14 is not an inconvenience, then Mum's Tipple could go well again. But I'll just go with Summerhand. I've not had a bet, and I probably won't, to be honest.
Yeah, so like I say, it's wide open. I mean, the fact that we have co-favourites of 4 or 10-1 at the head of a market goes to tell you that itself. But Summergand is one of those, but a notable mention for a few others, including dear old Waggers, Mr. Wagyu, even though it's missing his allotted time, though. But good cases made all round for plenty of those by Andrew. Daryl, can you solve this any better?
No, I'm afraid not. I'm very much like Andrew. I like a lot of them. That's the problem. It's not like I don't like the race. I just like too many horses, and that puts me off. Like, I was very keen on Silver Samurai, but I just worry with him that twice he's raced in proper Class 2 sprints is that he's been really outpaced early on, and obviously he's finishing very strongly. I mean, that was a huge eye-catching effort last time. Like, he was miles behind at halfway, and he finished beating 2 lengths or whatever, 2.25 lengths. I mean, he has got a pot in him, and I can't get out of my head the way he won at Haydock the time before. I really can't. Like, sprinters don't win that well and not be able to follow it up in a big handicap. So I'll probably have a sentimental bet on him, but there's loads. I mean, Alice Dancer, for example, likes it here at York. Is well handicapped off 93. I thought Sally M was a really interesting runner, dropping back to 6 furlongs for the first time. Outstayed at Goodwood, clung on here at York over Northern Express, and he's very, very pacey, and I just like the moves down to 6, back to 6 for him. I think he'll have a good shout. Volatile Analyst is 2 for 3 here at York. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's like, you can make cases for nearly every runner in the race, and it's very difficult. Spangled Mac finished well at Ascot, but Tabdeed, Christ, I'll just watch it.
Watch it and enjoy. But it's totally that race with all the characters we know. And like even Gulliver, 33-1 down the bottom of the market. To dismiss him over this course and distance is foolish. I know he's drawn a 20 there, but
he's the one that normally wins. There's the same race in October he wins, I think, isn't it? Here, so that's bear in mind for that one.
Yeah, keep an eye out for Gulliver then for that one when he goes back for that race again. But it's a super likeable race. Doesn't mean it's any easier from a betting perspective. So I totally get where the lads are coming from. So that was our final scheduled race. So Daryl, I'll throw it back to you, please, for anything from anywhere else.
Oh yeah. All right. 3:15 Sandown Zalareb. Zane Alareb, sorry. If he's not better than 83, Christ, I don't know what I'm doing. The 3:50 Sandown Protagonist. The 3:40 at Chester Safe Voyage returns to Chester for the first time, dropping down the handicap, been out with the washing, but I think returning to Chester could see him pop back to form. William Haggis is throwing fire out everywhere. 2:50 Deauville. Sea Silk Road is running over there. She should take a bit of beating. 3:10 at the Curragh, Aesop's Fables, I thought was interesting. And then Meditate, obviously, should hack up in the 3:45 at the Curragh. There's too much racing on this Saturday.
Not too much for you, though, to have spent the time to go through it and to pick out all of those bets, Sarah. So fair play to you for that. I'm seriously impressed. Andrew, I expect the exact same amount, please.
Yeah, I've got 2, both races that Daryl's covered. That 3:40 at Chester. It's the other John Quinn horse I like, the one with Jason Hart on, which is Titan Rock. Better drawn than Safe Fortune stall 4, and he was a huge eye catcher at Glorious Goodwood when finishing 5th from stall 19. That was a massive effort in that handicap behind Lyndon B. And in the 3:15 at Sandown, the Bill Stone horse, who was ex Michael Stout, Final Watch. Only had the one run this season, finished 6th at Chelmsford last month on his belated reappearance. Good effort from off the pace and a track that didn't favour those tactics. Last year, after leaving Sir Michael Stour, he ran 5th at Wolverhampton, then was switched back to turf, 7 furlongs, bang, he won. At Newmarket, he finished 2nd at Sandown over a mile, not quite getting home. He went back to Newmarket, won again. Then he finished 2nd to Modern News, beating a half length. You just look at his 7 furlong form on turf, absolutely rock solid. He's had that outing now to put him spot on. James Dawes takes the ride. It's just a case of the more rain, the better for Final Watch.
Oh, cool.
Right, it was a race. I said, if that don't win, I don't know what I'm doing. He's trying to end my career, he is.
The battle of the lads there. Yeah, I know. You completely teed him up for that race, Daryl, to have a name in it. He probably didn't even have a bet in it.
Never go first, Daryl. That's the
That's the trick, isn't it?
Absolutely threw it up for Andrew just to hit it then. So very well done. Right, Andrew, you're going first for your nap then.
Crikey, that's a difficult. I'll go for Titan Rock in that 340 at Chester.
Okay, oh, that's all right. Yeah, that was the Chester one. Okay, then. Right, Daryl, your nap, please, for the weekend.
I think it's got to be Soulcombe in the Melrose.
Okay, yeah. Okay, damn it. Okay, I'm taking him on. Right, I am going to go for Calling the Wind then in the Ebor at 3:35 then for my nap, hoping for a return winning nap anyway. But thank you so much to the lads for all of their hard work as per usual. Thank you for welcoming me back from my brief hiatus. Thanks so much to all of the lads, of course, and behind the scenes. And thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the weekend and we'll speak to you again next week.